This is Adam Marburger, and this is Humans That Build. Real conversations with real people, not just about what they've built in the world, but what had to be built inside them first. No hype, no shortcuts, just humans doing the work. Humans That Build, real people, real work. Welcome to another episode of Humans That Build. This show's designed to share stories from those making an impact in their community and in the world. Today, I've got a gentleman that I've known for a really long time, dear friend, followed him in his journey. When you think of entrepreneur, this is a guy that you totally think of. So, Scott Simons, welcome to Humans That Build.
Hey, Adam, thank you so much for having me on, bro. This is going to be a lot of fun. As you know, ask anything you want. We'll go whatever topics you want to go down. I have known you for a long time, and I really admire all the success and stuff that you're seeing. And I've watched it all unfold from you building a very big company, successful company. So I'm super proud of you, and thank you for having me on. This will be a lot of fun.
Well, yeah, no, and I always love chatting with you. You know, if you really think about it, time it escapes us, because you, and I know you remember this, maybe you do. We're both getting a little older now. But when I started my company, you were one of the first dealers that I sat with. Me and Steve, you were the last dealer that I was in a meeting with Steve before he passed. And I remember we went out to Virginia. We stayed in Stanton, right? Not Staunton.
Stanton. You're right. You sound like a local, bro. You sound like a local.
Got it, baby. And we went. It was Fat Tuesday, and we went out and had steaks, and you know, we had a nice night together. And you know, I remember that like yesterday. That was 2019 in February, brother. And
wow.
Fast forward, my company's grown. You've stepped out and built yours. Wow. It's pretty amazing, right? How time flies.
I know, and then, Steve, passed away, sudden, and, I'm glad I got to meet him because he left an impression on me, and I know that still hurts you that he's gone. I know how close y'all were.
Oh, yeah.
And, it just made me realize, tomorrow's not promised. I just recently lost my dad.
Yeah.
And as we get older, we deal with it. Steve was obviously very young.
Yeah.
Too young. And just losing my dad, and I just remember we had a great time. And I think even before that, about 17 or 18, if I'm not mistaken, we met or linked up at Arte, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we've known each other for for that many years in the auto industry. That's like dog years. So if it's 8 years, it's really like 60 years.
Oh yeah. God bless automotive retail. So we're going to talk automotive. We're going to talk all things entrepreneurship. This show is designed to share stories and impact. I love impacting the younger generation. I even posted something this morning that, my mistakes, I look back on my career, and if I could change a few things, would I? Yeah, there would be a few things.
Yeah.
But I realized I was the reason I didn't have the things that I wanted, because I was running with the wrong people, doing all of the wrong things. And I look back not in regret. I look back and share the stories with the younger generation. Like today, I was stating that if you want to win, first identify what you're really good at and what you like, then study an industry where you align with that, and then find a mentor in that industry that is crushing it, and then make a decision if you want to be an employee in that industry or a business owner. And the last thing, take freaking action. Would you agree that most of us in this world are taking no action? Like, that's the missing ingredient, in my opinion, Scott.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I agree with everything you said. I think having a mentor is extremely important. Luckily for me, one of my mentors is Grant Cardone. And I met him when he was selling CDs out of the back of a vehicle. And that was early in my career. I've been in the auto industry over 30 years. And I just knew there was something special about him. And so, obviously, I, learned underneath Grant, ended up hiring him as a, trainer. And then he got into real estate. And then I ended up investing in, funds like 1 through 12. I think he's up to 30 now. He's got billions of dollars underneath there. But he's been a mentor of mine, about saving your money, paying yourself first. And I think some people, when they hear that term, pay yourself first, they think that means like you're not paying other people. No, that actually, being business owners, you and I eat last. We don't eat first. But the term pay yourself first means before you pay all your bills, make sure that you set money aside. So if young people are listening to this, the couple bits of advice I got from Grant. If you're in commission sales or if you have variable paychecks, which we do, live your life based on your worst month, not your best month.
Beautiful advice.
So a lot of people were making, I knew sales reps for me that were making $250,000 during COVID. And I said to them, and I begged them. I said, Adam, guys, gals, save your money. Pay yourself first. Put money away. This is not normal. And they didn't listen. And they took their lifestyle. So if they made 100, they took their lifestyle up to 100 or more. Then 150, 200, 250. Well, then when the correction came, their pay went down.
Yeah.
And then some of them left because they couldn't afford to live. And I said, guys, where else are you going to go? I mean, the problem is not you. It's not. You've got to adjust. And so, Grant says pay yourself first. And anybody, if you could take money out of your accounts and have it go, because we typically look at our bank accounts and we say, okay, well, we can afford this, we can afford that. Well, if you have money going to retirements and money going to real estate, which I know you're involved in real estate and other things, and then you see a little bit in your bank account, you immediately get more conservative. And I learned that from Grant Cardone. And I even had people tell me, hey, Grant Cardone is a fraudster. He's going to rip you off. Well, just one of the deals I did with him, I got back 5x of my investment, and I still get residual income.
Yeah.
Because I didn't listen to other people. Now, have I invested and lost money with other people that I trusted?
Sure.
Of course.
Part of the game.
But the life lessons I learned from Grant about, paying yourself first means save, learned it from him and my dad, save your money and have it go into these automatic accounts. And then guess what? When that happens, your production has to go up. Yeah. But don't go and just spend it on the new, Gucci shoes or, you and I both wear Rolexes. Well, we can afford them. Yeah. I'm not being, we can afford the things that we buy. If I can't pay cash, and another thing he said, if I can't buy 2 of them with cash, I don't buy it.
Yeah.
So those are things, and I was so lucky to have a mentor like him. I was very fortunate, but I agree with everything. It's action. I mean,
yeah. Here's the thing too. Like, first of all, that advice was insane. Like, if the younger generation, hopefully, I'm sure plenty will hear it. What you do, and I'm on the back half of I'm closer to 50 than 40, and you know what? Praise God that I lost it all of it. Self-made millionaire, 31, lost it all, and then I got it back. And it was a challenge to get it back, and it hurt. It was very painful, and it's still. You and I both know true entrepreneurship is understanding how you can make payroll, right? How am I going to move this and hedge this bet and this? And I've been there. I've done that. But the thing is, once you get a little older, you get wiser, you get more conservative, you make better decisions. So my point to this rant is what you do in your 20s and your 30s and most of your 40s will determine your life later. Like, if you could just take that advice, Scott, if everybody could take your advice in your 20s, pay yourself first, set it aside, don't touch it, put it in a 401k, get a financial advisor, interview a few of them that you trust, that have that have a history of doing well in the market, right? Wow. If you do that in your 20s and your 30s, you're going to look back in your 40s and go, wow, Why do we not, though? Where do you think, why is it? And I know, I'll give you an example. My daughter, she's going to be 16. She's brilliant. She spends every dollar of her paycheck. And I'm coaching her. I'm trying. I'm challenged with her right now. Yeah. She gets her check, and the next day it's all gone on Target and online crap. What? What do you say about that, Scott? Like, help me with that.
Yeah, I think you've got to give her obviously a little bit of grace. I think we've all, especially at 16, we didn't make the best decisions. I know between my 13 and 17, being in the area I was in, I was a wild child. Got in multiple fights, got in a lot of trouble, and luckily I grew out of it. And I tell you, I was such a bad person at those ages that when I moved from Virginia to from West Virginia to Virginia, the sheriff came and knocked on our door, asked a deputy asked my dad and I to go down and to meet with him. And my dad goes, "What is my son under arrest? What's wrong? What did he do?" So he had told my dad that I had been in drag racing cars, in fights, and that I'm lucky that I hadn't been to jail, that I had ran across state lines from them, and that they're going to be watching me. And if I mess up at all, I'm going to go to jail. That's how I was introduced from moving from one state to the other.
Welcome.
Most of it was true. He was true. I got in multiple fights. Like one kid got 17 stitches and this and the other. And I was an aggressive kid, and I just had to filter it in the right way. But what we got to do is just try to lead by example and try to help them. The DoorDash, the DoorDash charges. You're sitting there thinking that we got to the point where now for someone that's got the money, getting stuff delivered to you makes sense when you're making a lot of money. But when you're not, and our children are not making a lot of money and they're doing DoorDash, they're paying triple for a burger. Why don't they just make something at home? But you're not going to change that overnight. But I'll give you an example, and this is what I want people to hear. I always saved and maxed out my 401k and my wife's. For the most of my career, I have been an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur means I'm an entrepreneur that works for somebody else. So even when I worked for CMA, I was an employee. Now I had partnership, but I was paid as an employee. Well, ever since I was 22 or 23 years old, I've maxed out my 401k. Now, Grant Cardone would tell you not to do that. I knew just to max it out, and if they add anything to it, that was fine. Well, when I first started, it was 6,000. Now it's like 24,000, whatever it is, right? Well, so did my wife. When we first got married, she's like, "Scott, I'm not making any money. Like, if I max this out, like, what's my net paychecks?" I said, "We will figure it out. We'll figure it out. Trust me." When my wife left that investment banking firm, she got a check in the mail for like 7 figures, and she said, What's this for? I said, "Remember all them years?" I said, "Follow the course, I said, "That's your 401k." And she said, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "No," because I watched it all. She didn't even know. Yes. And now, obviously, we talk about money and everything, but we just acted like it didn't even exist. Well, we've done that for over 30 years. Now, I don't suggest that to everybody, but did she want to do that? No. And I said, "We'll figure it out." We drank water, ate ramen noodles, learned all these cheap things how to live from my dad. We would go get water, get Splenda, get lemons, and make lemonade. And then when we left, we would take the ketchup and stick it in our pockets. And when we ate something at home, we'd squeeze the ketchup out. Yeah. I can live really cheap. It's just not a very fun way to live. But I tell you, it is just a different world than what you and I grew up with. But we can't give up, and we don't want to be one of those old farts that say, "Well, we walk to school with snow up to our rear ends both ways." So it's a fine balancing line, because if we try to do that, they'll just tune us out.
Yeah. The generation today is wildly different. Well, the world's different. The world's different. These things. Our kids, they get on TikTok. They believe what TikTok says, and it's as a parent, it's challenging. We'll just say this. Now, I want to talk. We're gonna reverse engineer your career here. So you're now the dealer principal of Simon Chevy GMC, which, by the way, congratulations. You're having insane success. I just watched an interview that you're up 115% gross profit. With only a 4% increase in your expenses, and you did it in like half of a year. We're gonna break that down here in a minute, which is insanity to me, by the way. Yeah. But let's go back. So you're a dealer. You've been in this auto industry forever. So let's talk about the Scott Simons. How'd you get introduced to auto? We all have our own special story. I'd love to hear that. How'd you get into the industry? Tell us a little bit about your path to being a full-blown entrepreneur. We'll talk about some real estate second here because I do want to chat a little bit about Grant real estate here in a minute. But let's go through your journey in automotive if you don't mind, Scott.
Yeah, sure. So, Adam, originally I'm from Bluefield, West Virginia, Welch, West Virginia. That area is known as one of the poorest counties in the United States. So my dad was one of nine, my mom was one of nine, and they had two children. My brother's 18 months older than me. He's a doctor in Texas. Everything our parents did was to get their two boys out of this poverty, the lowest life expectancy of any country in the nation, any county in the nation. It is the lowest life expectancy, the poorest county in the country. And so my brother was much smarter than me. And growing up, he always wanted to be either an accountant or at first an accountant, he ended up being a doctor. Me, I would notice things like we shared a house with our aunt. My parents, my dad never made more than $32,000 a year. He worked 5 jobs. My mom was a lab supervisor. My dad would save all his money and go get my mom's check and put it in the bank. So we lived out of scarcity. And I didn't understand some things growing up. One, my dad was just scared, and he saved everything. And I remember going to church at a Catholic church. I was an altar boy, and I saw a guy wearing really nice clothes. And we were going out and getting an 86 celebrity we paid $300 for and had Bondo hanging out because the tech school fixed it as a project. And I remember seeing a guy pull up in a brand new car, nice clothes, and I said, what does he do? And I think I was, I don't know, 11, 12 years old. And they were like, he sells cars. And I said, that's not his car, that's the dealership's car. I said, how do I get to drive a car like that and wear clothes like that? So that age sparked my interest in the auto industry. Then my dad, when he would purchase cars at 15 years old, I would go to the dealer and negotiate the deal. So that was with Charlie Cole in Bluefield, West Virginia, which is, they're friends of mine. So I saw it as a way to get out. One, I can make unlimited income. Two, I could drive nice cars. Like I've always liked nice cars. You and I both like nice cars.
Yes.
I've always loved it. Everybody's got the picture of either the Duke boys in the room, the Generally, or the Countach in there. That we all had those. Or the Ferrari, that Tom Selleck drove. So I saw that as a way of getting out. So I finished with my 4-year degree in 2.5. I finished my MBA in 1.5 years. My dad thought for sure I was going to go get some job on Wall Street. And I said, I'm going to go sell cars. Adam, my dad looked like I had told him that like I had some real rare illness. He looked at me angry and said, you're going to go sell cars? Why did we pay, which my parents paid for my school and my brother's school, why did we pay for all this school? I said, well, Dad, I want to own a dealership one day. And the only way I can get there is I can't go from not owning a dealership. I got to start at the bottom. I got to start off in sales or wherever they'll hire me. And I got to work my way up. So I interviewed, at that point, I was living in Charlottesville, Virginia, working for a loan company. One of those loan companies where you charge people high interest, like a payday loan. And I learned how to read credit bureaus. And I learned about finance. Because I learned more working there 6 months than I learned 6 years worth of school. Okay? There was an ad out for salesperson, Saturn of Richmond. I applied. And I went there. And they're like, why are you applying? You have a master's degree. And I said, well, I like to sell cars. I like to own a car dealership one day. Literally, I got laughed in my face. And it was Johnny Cates, Jim Milner was my GM, and a guy named Huddy Hyman. And Johnny said, we're going to give you a shot. I said, that's all I'm asking for. Went into sales, got trained at a Saturn store, best training in the world. Saturn had the best training in the world. Customer experience, we didn't negotiate on prices. Quickly went into finance. From finance, I became a finance director. They didn't pay any money. I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. So then I left there and went to a Pontiac GMC store. But what I figured out was manufacturers only care about how many new cars you sell, what's your CSI, and then profits third. So what I did was at the Saturn store, I got to know GM Financial, GMAC. And then when I went to a Pontiac GMC store, I got to know GMAC there. And I would get people done that other people couldn't get done because I wouldn't give up. And I put them in a new Sunfire. And I put them in a new Aztec. In our Pontiac GMC store, if you would sell one Pontiac GMC, they would sell 4 Chevys. So in Richmond, we were the last store. We were the dead last. We went from 8th to 2nd. So people started asking, how did y'all selling all those new cars? Well, they got this finance guy that can get people done. And so that built up a name for me in the industry, and then built up a name with the manufacturers. I left there, became the general manager, finance director, then general manager of Harrisonburg Honda, Harrisonburg, Virginia. The store was not performing. We took it from not performing to beating every store in town. Then we started beating the stores in Richmond. Carter Myers and Liza Borges, we were beating their store in Richmond. They came to visit the store to see what we were doing. They ended up buying a competitor 30 miles down the road. A person connected us. I left, went to work with them as a partner because that's what I wanted to do. Because I told everybody I want to be a partner. And when I left this store, imagine taking this store that was beating everybody, beating their asses, and then taking your team down here. So 47 of my 103 people went 30 miles down the street. We then started beating everybody's ass there. And then my goal was to buy every store in town. We bought the Volkswagen. I took over the Volkswagen store. We bought the Nissan Subaru store. The Chevrolet CDJR store went out of business, and they gave us the CDJR store at the Open Point. CMA at that point in 86 years had 5 or 6 stores in 86 years. I was store 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and now they have 26. They went to 26 stores in 14 years.
It's incredible.
So left CMA in 2024. Liza and I decided to go our separate ways. And then I bought Simon Chevrolet GMC in 2025, and I've been here we just completed we're about to complete our 7th month.
Wow. So
Yep.
you've got an incredible path and journey. And, I can relate to something that you said when your dad looked at you like you had some rare illness. Mm-hmm. I dropped out of college. Kudos to you for finishing, by the way. So I dropped out of college. I was in my microeconomics class, and I'm selling cars. So the deal my GM made with me was I sold cars on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and I went to college full time on Tuesdays and Thursdays, day school. And I remember sitting in my economics class, and I could remember all of my customers' last names. For some reason, most stock numbers, and it was easy to remember the commissions. And I remember looking down on my sheet of paper. On the 21st of the month, I had $7,200 made. And this is the year 2000. So just obvious, that's a lot of do-re-mi. I had a lot of month left. I went home and I told my mom, I said, hey, I'm leaving school. I'm going to go all in on the auto industry, and I'm going to do this forever. And she looked at me like I was crazy. I said, Mom, trust me on this. So I can relate to that. And I will say this, and I know you're going to agree, the automotive industry, not only does it bless families and communities and changes lives, it changes lives. But the automotive industry gives individuals second, third, fourth, fifth chances. It's the most forgiving industry I've ever seen. Whether you're an ex-con, you're divorced, you got a DUI, you did something you're not proud of in your past, or something happened that was out of your control. The automotive industry does a good job of forgiving, and there's great leaders in this industry that can almost rehabilitate that individual and change lives. And I know you've seen it firsthand how many lives have been changed because of this industry.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think sometimes the people that are the most talented went through the most. Imagine I was at a company for 14 years, and then all of a sudden, basically was out.
Yeah,
and that literally was not the path that I expected my career to go.
right.
But I'm so thankful that it did, because I'm a better car dealer. I'm a better person. I'm a better human. And it made me rise to levels I didn't expect. And I think some of the people that have had the most trauma in the past, as long as they've gotten over it, and some people self-medicate, they do whatever. But I think the people that have been through, like we're battle tested. Like there's not much for the loss of a friend or loss of a family or whatever the case we've dealt with. We've had losses. I opened up 3 gyms in Florida, and through with some Arte people that I trusted, that turned out to be not it wasn't what we were told. Now we didn't perform either, so I was a grown man, But we lost $1.3 million between three of us.
A lot of money.
It's a lot of money, but I've also had some wins. But the losses, like I get pitched all the time to invest in things. And if you noticed, I don't go to many events anymore. I'm not in Arte anymore. I'm not in Apex anymore. No disrespect to anybody. I'm completely focused on Simon's, Chevrolet, GMC, just like you're focused on Ascent. And then it's that in my family. My circle has gotten closer and tighter because also when you do leave somewhere, your true friends and true family and the people that you've helped climb, they then no longer know who you are.
This right here, for those listening and hearing this or even watching, this is freaking some hot topics right here. There is nothing further from the truth. It's amazing as we age, the people that we think are our people really aren't our people. It's amazing to find out how many haters in disguise that were there all along. Sometimes the path to the top can be freaking lonely, man. Like lonely and dark. Everybody sees, like you talk about a Rolex. Like everybody sees like a watch or like a cool car or a fun family vacation, but they don't see the depression, the crying, the darkness, the aloneness, the people that just betray the living crap out of you, man. And let me say this. It's all part of the plan. I think as we grow, people fall off. And I think having a smaller circle is much better as you age. I literally was just having this talk over the weekend at the Lake of the Ozarks with a couple of my buddies. It's like, I love having people all over the country like you. If I was near you, I could say, Scott, let's go grab dinner, and you and I are going to have dinner, and it's going to be awesome. I've got a lot of people like that all over. But in my local community here that's home, I got a handful of people, man. I got such a tiny little...
You know why that is? People that don't even know you will cheer you on, that's never met you. And then the people that are there close to you, like I was close to the people that I worked with at CMA. Now, whether they were told not to speak to me or whatever the case may be, like that won't even acknowledge my existence. But you know what? I don't even really worry about that. Now, you go through a little bit where it's pain, some pain there. But then you say, well, Scott, obviously it bothers you, you bringing it up. No, it doesn't. It's just I tightened up my circle. Like my circle really is my family first and foremost, which should always come first. Your spouse first, then your children. Not your children is not coming before your spouse. Spouse first, then children, and then it's the team that I have here. And I'm building one hell of a team here. I've had people that come with me. I have more people that worked with me previous that I'm looking to buy other stores because I have more people that want to work for me than I have availability. So I'm just stacking them up, and I'm out there spending any time I have. My wife and I drove Saturday through a storm. Left the dealership about mid-afternoon. Man, we drove through one of the worst rainstorms I can remember to South Carolina to go look at two dealerships that we may make an offer on. And, some people say, well, Scott, you've arrived, quote unquote, you've bought, your name's on the building. You're 100% owner, no partners, own it all on your own. No, you own the real estate, you own everything. Yeah, but I got a bigger dream. Like I want Simon's Automotive Group to be here long after I'm gone. You want your company to be here long after you're gone. And I've got more people that want an opportunity. And the true people, like even when I went through that transition, you, Brian Benstock, I can name about 5 of them, 6 of them that were, hey bro, you need anything? Like this, you kind of left kind of quick. Is it good? And of course, whenever you leave something quick, the rumors are, oh, he must have had an affair. Well, yeah, whatever. I've been married with my wife for, since she was 17, I was 15. Well, he must have stole from him. I never stole $1 from anybody. There's nobody that can listen to this podcast and put in the comments that I owe them money, I've ever stiffed them out of money, ever. I've never not paid somebody. There's not a human on this planet that can say Scott Simons did them dirty and could look me in the face because they're a liar. They're a liar. Yep. But when you go into that transition, I would get my hair cut in the local town, and the guy that cuts all the dealer's hair would say, you want to hear the latest rumor about you? I said, yeah, man, go ahead. Oh, the feds are about to kick down your door. Oh, is that the newest one? Because they'd already said that I stole from the company, which was okay, that I had an affair, that, I ran a side company out there. So, okay, what's the newest? Oh, the IRS is after me. Okay. I said, what's next? You know, so what's next? What are they gonna say about me next? I was losing my house that I just sold in 2 days.
What a
Yeah,
beautiful! I saw that listing. My God, what a
sold it
beautiful piece of.
sold it in 2 days. And we were reasonable on what we asked, and we bought a beautiful home here. And
Congrats on that.
I because I was smart with my money, I was debt free when I bought this dealership. Like I leveraged my own money. So 6.9 million. I borrowed 2.8 million from myself. The company, this dealership is paying back the 2.8 million. My goal is to make the money I put down back in a year and a half to clear the 2.8.
Yes.
So that's when you talked about earlier, we were up 115% in gross profit, but our expenses only went up 4%. Part of that is a strategy, and part of that is just being terribly efficient and getting production out of what we have here. But so that's the goal, is to start a group. That way, if my children are my daughter just started working with me. She's doing a dealer exchange right now, Adam.
Okay.
She's literally at a dealer exchange doing a dealer exchange right now. She's doing our social media. She's starting at the bottom because I'm gonna teach her the right way. She doesn't get a pass because she's my kid. She's actually she's gonna have to go through a gauntlet, because I want to make sure she's battle tested.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to be here forever, but I want to leave something that affects the communities. The 28, 29 people we employ. I have a guy just walking by that just picked up a check for a baseball team. So I want to leave a legacy that that name means something. Yeah. And my dad that just got buried, Adam, he came from very poor upbringings. And I was so proud the day we all sat outside and cried when he saw his name on the building. Not my name, his name, Simon's. When my dad died, he got buried in a Simon's pullover and a Simon's polo. He wore it everywhere. When he was sick in the hospital and he threw up in there fighting for his life,
My God, it's amazing.
they tried to cut the shirt. He said, "Do not cut this shirt." He asked my mom to go in the sink and wash it so he could put it back on.
Wow.
And the man is buried in a Simon's pullover.
Wow.
And he got to see his name on this building only for 6 months, but he got to see it before he passed 3 weeks ago. And that was one of his dying wishes, was to be buried in that shirt. That's how much it meant to him. So now it's my responsibility, and hopefully our children's responsibility, to carry his name and his legacy ahead.
Love
so
that.
it's bigger. It's bigger.
It's much bigger than you. It's much bigger. This is this is some real legacy type stuff is what this is. What you said, I'm tearing up just listening to that story about your dad, but what you said about your daughter and not giving her the easy pass, I love that. And I don't know what, my firstborn is a lot like me. We joke, call each other twin. I don't know, if she's going to go to college. Right now she's talking about going to college, and I'm going to support whatever she wants to do. But I've talked to each one of my girls, my older girls, about the University of Auto Sales.
Yeah.
I have local clients here that, get out of high school, maybe in the summers or at least, a year. I want them to sell cars.
Me?
I think everyone, and I'll echo this to the younger folks that are out there, even, here, if you're in your 30s, 40s, and 50s and you want a career change, the automotive is a wonderful place for you. Now, especially the younger generation, from selling cars, you're learning communication skills, you're learning accountability, you're learning salesmanship, you've got structure, you've got organization, you're dealing with difficult individuals and situations, you're dealing with paperwork and administrative work, you're dealing with compliance. Scott, do you think there's any better first job for any young individual on the planet than car sales? I don't think there is.
I think probably before they turn 18, they should come in. If any of your girls want to come work with me, they can come where they can mentor. They can come work for me summers, anytime. They're welcome.
Love that.
And anybody in our network that wants us in, I have a young man right now mentoring. His dad worked at Jeff Gordon Chevy. He owns an event place here, for weddings and stuff. He came here, and the local community has been very supportive of us. It's been awesome. He came in and said, "I have a grandson that is going to college, and I don't want you to give him a pass, but would you let him come here and work for you?" Well, his young man's named Corbin.
Okay.
Corbin right now is back straightening up our parts department, and he did a DX for us the other day, and he's here just learning the lingo, and he's a sales assistant. But I do that a lot because I want to expose the youth to this wonderful industry that not only changed my life, changed your life, it changed a lot of people's lives.
Yeah.
That that's going to pay dividends in the future. So it's a way also of giving back. So yeah, I strongly suggest it. But what I will give you advice on this is, I pushed it. So I had my daughter in commercials. I had my son in commercials. My daughter graduated from Liberty, got a degree in the medical field in like business administration in medical, so medical business administration.
Yep.
I let her go to get her first job. And she contacted me and she said, she lives in Northern Virginia. She said, Dad, I may want to talk to you about the auto industry, but I don't want to do sales. I said, okay. I want you to present to me why I should hire you. Now, when she was growing up, I said, Morgan, you ought to come work for your dad. You ought to come work for your dad. And because I pushed, she pushed back. Okay? So she sold me for about 30 minutes on why I should hire her. I said, Morgan, you don't want to do sales, but you just sold me on all the reasons why I should hire you and what are you going to do for this company. That's sales, honey. So don't get all wigged out about someone saying it's sales. You sell every day. Everybody that listens to us is a salesperson. If you're selling your spouse on an idea, where are we going to dinner? If you want to go somewhere where they have an IPA and she wants to go somewhere where they have good wine, you've got to sell her on the fact of going to this place because you may like that dessert. So we sell all the time. Mm-hmm. And I think learning entrepreneurship, sales, automotive sales in general, automotive sales is a great place. And I think what a lot of people will do is we get into it because of a mistake a lot of times, because it's a low barrier of entry. But then we fall in love with it. And once we get it in our veins, it's in your veins for the rest of your life. You will always be around the auto industry. Mm-hmm. I will always be around the auto industry. No matter whatever else you get in insurance involved in,
yep,
you're always going to love and get excited when you walk in that front door of that dealership. You're always going to get a tingle. Your blood pressure is going to go up. You're going to walk in here just a little bit faster with a little bit bigger of a smile on your face, because you're walking into somewhere you love.
You know, it's and I want to talk about some of your other deals, but before I do that, when I take vacation, I don't know if you struggle sometimes. I hate explaining. It's weird. I hate explaining to people what I do. I own this company. I own this company. I don't want to sound like a freaking douche canoe. I don't. So just saying I'm in business sounds kind of snooty too. So, you know what I've been doing? I've been doing this for 2 years now. I just tell people I sell cars. What do you do for a living? I sell cars. Oh, no kidding. What dealership you work for? Well, actually, I own a company that helps people sell cars. I sell cars, man. It's so much easier just to explain I sell cars. Now, I want to talk about the individual that is an employee that has dreams and aspirations of, we can call it a side hustle. I don't like that term, but I'm going to use it because it's a term people understand. I look at it as another stream. I live in a world of buckets. I want multiple buckets that feed my family income. That's just how that's how I operate. Can't change my mindset. Grant Cardone also heavily influenced me as a young adult. I love Grant. Some people say that. I think most people like Grant. I mean, Grant says it how it is, and he backs up what he says. That's just my opinion of Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone's the reason I went all in on real estate. So with that being said, what advice would you give the individual that is a safe and secure W-2 where your needs are met, we're doing okay, but has the dreams and aspirations of another bucket? What encouragement, what advice would you give to somebody that knows they want more, that hasn't taken that step?
Yep. So what I would do is, first of all, live your life based on your worst month, not your best month, which is what I stated, near the beginning of your show. That's so extremely important. Also, put some money in your 401k. You don't have to max it out, but put 5%, put 10%. And then you're going to have to, one, it's going to reduce the amount of taxes you pay now, not unless you do the Roth, which you can either do the Roth or the other. You got to talk to a financial planner to see what's best for you. So I would put money in that bucket. If I was just starting out, what I would do is if I was single, I would buy a starter home. I would then find two people that would want to come rent from me, this is what I did in Richmond. And then I had those two people pay the fixed expenses of that rental property. So I'm the homeowner. I buy a small condo, 3 bedrooms, small house, small townhouse, and then I've got 3 bedrooms. I'm living in one. I'm going to move in 2 people that are a positive influence. Not someone that's going to have me out bar chasing every night. Not someone that's going to, and I may have a girlfriend too, and the girlfriend can come stay or visit or whatever the case may be, or if you're a female, a boyfriend, right? But I'm going to charge them what the fixed expenses are. So if my mortgage is $1,500 a month, they're both going to pay $750, and then we're going to split the utilities. They're going to pay my my mortgage on that house. And then once I go buy a house, if I get married, I'm then going to keep that as a rental property. So that's what the first advice I would give someone that's young. So that's what I'm going to do first and foremost. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start learning about a Grant Cardone or maybe an Adam, that's someone that's really smart in real estate. Let me give you an example. Back home, there's a gentleman that owns most of downtown Harrisonburg. So I was in CrossFit with him, which CrossFit, Jiu-Jitsu, the gym is a good place to find entrepreneurs, especially if they're there at 5 o'clock in the morning, like at a group workout, rolling on the mats. That's a lot of successful people. Boxing is a lot of successful people, yes. Right? So that's a good network. But say go to the gym, and I was at CrossFit, and the guy that I researched him, that owned a lot of Harrisonburg. I just went up to him and I said, "Sir, my name's Scott Simons. It's very nice to meet you. I'd like to go grab dinner or something sometime." And I just friended him in there. I didn't do it off the bat. And I formed a relationship with him. Once I formed a relationship, I said, "Hey, sir, I've got good credit. I've got a little bit of cash. If you know of any opportunities out there that I would be a good fit for, as an investor, I would love to talk." A year and a half went later, and he's called me. "Hey, Scott, let's meet." Hey, no problem. I've got this investment downtown, and he showed me his portfolio. I said, "Okay, how much can I put in, and who do I wire the money to?" He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I've already researched you. I know you're successful. I want to be involved, and I won't even be a pain in your ass." That led to 5, all from a connection at CrossFit. And I said, and so I just get mailbox money from this guy, and he just let me ride his coattails to the point where I called him and said, "Hey, you got any more opportunities?" And most of them performed well. One of them didn't. He said, "I'm surprised I haven't heard from you." I said, "Hey, man, it's gambling. But you got any more opportunities, let me know." I invested in the first 12 Grant Cardone deals. So what I did was, and when I stepped away from CMA, even without their little buyout, I did not have to work another day in my life, because I had all this. Simons Enterprises Inc., which is an S corp, owns all these companies that pay me back cash flow. Once it builds up in Simons Enterprises Inc., I talk to you. You've got a business idea. I rank you and the people. You would be at the top, and I just say, "Hey, you want to partner on something?" And then once that capital builds up to say $100,000, I've already got 4 opportunities. That then goes out, and then it's a separate LLC that's owned by my S corp. Then that money comes back into my S corp. So to buy this dealership, the $2.8 million was borrowed from Simons Enterprises Inc. And then this entity is paying that entity back. So my parent company owns all the LLCs. The reason why you do it that way is if I have a negative loss, and if I don't have this S corp, I can't write off a negative loss against a passive gain. Yeah. I mean, against an active gain. It has to be a passive. So the S corp is the company that owns everything. Yeah. And see, I learned all that through like Grant Cardone, and I learned that from doing research, people much smarter than me in building wealth. On top of that, I have life insurance I can borrow against, infinite banking. A lot of people say it's a scam. Not necessarily if you get with the right person, right? Yeah. And then I have real estate that I can leverage. So every asset I own, I can borrow against. So if I needed to come up with millions of dollars, I could do it and not have to come to a bank. Yeah. And I learned all that. I'm a guy that didn't crack 1,000 on my SATs. I'm a horrible test taker. If you check my base intelligence, I have to read stuff multiple times to understand it. But there's some things I'm blessed with a ton of common sense, and I'm wired to perform. So when you're wired to perform, you're not weird. Like a lot of people in Arte that weren't scam artists were wired that way. Andy Frisella's wired that way.
Yeah, he
right?
sure is.
You're wired that way. So what they'll do is they try to put us in a box and tell us we're weird or we have something wrong with us and you're never going to live a normal life. No, I'm just different than you. Like, I can't chill. I can't relax. I try.
I struggle. I struggle.
Yeah, my wife loves to chill. But so what I'll do is I'll go on the beach for a little bit, and then when she's not paying attention, I'll pull out my iPad, and then I'm looking at real estate in the area just for fun, or I'm looking at this next opportunity. I'm engaged.
Yeah.
Or I'll go rent a jet ski, and next thing I know, she said, "Where are you going?" I said, "You want to go ride jet skis with me?" "No, I don't." I said, "All right, I'm going to go do parasailing, and then I'm going to do jet skis, and then I'll be back in like 3 hours, 4 hours." Okay. Because that's what she loves to do. This is what I love to do.
And it's entrepreneurs. It's like, I think it gets to a point where it truly, my opinion, my experience, it truly becomes a hobby. Like entrepreneurship on its own is a hobby. Like I have zero, there's no, when do you plan on retiring? At what age do you want to be done working? Oh, yeah. See, I lost my grandmother to Alzheimer's. I know what it's like losing a family member when they stopped work and they start losing their mind. I pray that for my kids' sake that none of that ever happens to me. But I'm working till I'm dead in some capacity because entrepreneurship and serving communities and giving people opportunities and seeing the impact. It is because let's make no mistake. Small business owners are the ones that are keeping this country floating, man.
100%.
Small business owners are the ones that are donating to Little League Baseball. You're in dealerships. I know there's a lot of company, and we like to serve our community through our gym. I know for a fact you're serving your community through your dealership, but car dealers in general give more than most businesses I've ever seen. So that's one thing too. And I know we don't have enough time to go through the negative stigma of the auto industry, but I think we've done a good job. The guys like you and the people that I work with, we've done a good job of changing this industry. And I think we are getting the credit that we deserve finally. The auto industry blesses so many people. I don't know what another industry that blesses communities like the auto industry. I really don't.
We are, car dealerships throughout the country. The first thing I did when I got here, Adam, was, okay, what's this area known for? You got to think, I came to Whiteville, North Carolina, did not know a soul. I did not know one single person besides the people that I brought with me. And first thing I did is say, okay, what is big in this area? Our baseball team, Whiteville High School, this is small town baseball USA. Population of 5,000 people. We got two major leaguers right now. They're in the championship game of a high school game today, which will be their 10th. I immediately said, okay, what do I need to do to get involved? Well, here's the Whiteville Diamond Club. Okay, I want my sign out. I want to be one of they have the top spot open. I didn't even know how I was going to afford it, through the company. I said, all right, done. All right. They said, well, you can come out throughout the first pitch on youth day. So then I contacted the youth and said, what can I do to help? They said, there's 2 teams that aren't sponsors. I said, I'll sponsor both of them. So then they said, come out throughout the first pitch. I had not threw a baseball in 30 years. I took a little 8-year-old out in the outfield and was throwing. I couldn't hit a bull in the ass with a bass fiddle. That ball was going all over the place. I ran that kid to death. So what I did with the opening pitch, because I didn't want to embarrass myself, I palmed the ball and flipped it. And the guy said, you look like you were throwing a football. I said, you know why? Because I would have probably killed somebody if I'd have reared back and threw that baseball. Because I said, I've been out there warming up. But guess what? Everybody saw me out there. I've been to the ball games. My wife and I went to a veterans show here. There's a veterans park. We were out there for 8 hours. I looked like a tomato, shaking hands, meeting the community. Now, there was a bunch of other places my wife and I would have preferred. We lived 10 minutes from the beach in Wilmington. We would much rather been on the beach. And by the time, my competitor dropped his vehicles off and left.
I do.
Left. He didn't even stay. So here was his vehicles. I met every person. I think there was 150 cars come through the car show. They had to pass by me. My wife was on one side. I was on the other. I said, I'm Scott Simons. Thank you for being here. They thought it was my show. I said, thank you for being here. I'm the new dealer. But, I look like a tomato. The Vogue School had career day. I took out a Corvette out there, Z06 Corvette. They said, you're crazy for bringing us out there. Took 2 real nice vehicles. 3,400 kids came by that car. And I talked to them at between 50 and 100 at a time. And I said, come around me. Please don't touch the car. Because if y'all touch it, it'll dent. And they believe me, so not a lot of them touched it. But I opened it up. I started it for them. And they said, we were mates. Guess what? My competitor in town dropped his vehicles off and left.
Yeah.
And then he's wanting to know how we went from selling the previous dealer 24 units to we have a chance to hit 100. And then parts and service have tripled. That's because we're going and shaking the hands and winning the community. So I had to start from scratch. But you know what? I love doing those things.
Yeah.
I love going and giving back to the community. Tomorrow, Iron Hill Baptist Church did a fish fry.
Let's go, baby.
Tomorrow.
Go get your.
I bought 20. I bought 25 of them. This is like the 8th meal that I bought from a local church and fed my team. I said, guys, don't buy lunch. I'm getting y'all fish fry on Friday. So I feed my team and then I give to the local community. I've done, 8 of these so far in 6 months. Yeah. So now they all know if you do some fundraiser, go see Scott. He's going to feed his team. It's $250. Best $250 I can spend. I feed my team and I support a local church.
I didn't understand this principle in my early 30s. I think I started figuring it out in my mid, and I definitely get it now. You got to give to get. If you serve others and you do it with the right heart condition, without expecting anything in return, but just doing it because it's the right thing to do, it's amazing how the universe just rewards you for that. Yeah. Scott, we're running out of time here. Actually, I try to keep these at 40, and we're at 55, and I could talk to you for 5 more hours, and I know you got a business to run. So promise me this, you'll come back so we can continue this talk. There's a lot more of Scott Simons that I want to share. How can individuals get a hold of you? How can individuals work with you? How can individuals potentially invest with you? How can individuals follow you on socials? Just share all that information if you could so people can find you.
I appreciate the opportunity, man. I always love talking to you, and you know how much I respect and admire you and everything that you've done, and consider you a dear friend. And take me up on that offer if any of your tribe want to come down and work with me. I mean that. I'll treat them like family, and I'll teach them what I know, so take advantage of that. But I'm on LinkedIn, Scott Simons. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. If you message me, I will get back to you. My email is Scott E. Simons. There's only one M at gmail.com. Okay. The dealership is Simon Chevy GMC, so you can go to simonchevygmc.com. If there's anything I can do for you, even if you just want to ask me a car question. I just had a guy back home, had his truck broke down at a shop. I sold him. He was out of warranty in December. The truck is 48,000 miles and it needs an engine, $12,000 repair. They said, sorry, you're out of warranty. You didn't buy a service plan. He called me and said, man, he's a police officer, trains canines. He said, man, you've always treated me right. I know you're in North Carolina. I said, brother, let me do some research. Send me over your repair orders. We contacted GM. GM's going to cover 70% of the repair. I said, I'm coming to get it. Tell them, button it up. I'm coming to get it. I have a transporter there because that's where I'm from. Pick it up. I worked numbers out of him on a brand new truck. He is getting a brand new truck delivered to him today. So I traded his vehicle. I'm going to repair it. It cost him nothing out of pocket. I'm absorbing the difference. I'm just going to put it into the trade. And he, without even leaving his house, is getting a brand new truck delivered to him. And the dealer I took it from don't even know what just happened. So I get a repair, I get a sale, and then I get to sell his truck. And the bottom line is, I took care of a customer.
That's what it's all about. And you have a loyal customer that will send you more customers that you will get to service and sell in the future. So, Scott, I can't thank you enough. I love you, brother. You've been such a blessing to me. You've been there for me since the beginning when I started. I've got your back for life, and I know you've got mine. So thanks for sharing your wisdom. And for those tuning in to Humans That Build, thank you for all the support. I get a lot of messages. I'm getting a lot of positive input and feedback. I do this for you guys. I just want to bring people like Scott to all of you so we as a team can just get a little bit better today than we were yesterday. That's what it's all about. So, Scott, have a blessed day, my brother.
Thank
And
you, sir.
we'll talk sooner than later. Humans that build, real people, real work. See you next time.